So proud of it. When you go to a classical concert, you look at the program, who's coming, who's playing, which symphony. In my case, they don't know, and I don't tell them. They only know when you go to Andre and his orchestra, you will have an evening, you will.
He was known as the King of the Waltz, a musical magician who made classical music feel young again. Andre Rieu didn't just perform, he transported audiences into a dream. With his signature violin, golden curls, and infectious charisma, he transformed concert halls into ballrooms and skeptics into fans. But what the world saw on stage, elegance, control, and grandeur, was only part of the story. Behind the glittering smile was a man carrying a weight most never suspected. Illness, financial ruin, personal loss, Rieu has faced it all, and at several points in his career he nearly vanished altogether. Andre Rieu wasn't just battling industry pressure. He was fighting to stay upright in a world that can be as unforgiving as it is glamorous. From collapsing tours and a health crisis that left him unable to play, to emotional breakdowns and whispers of retirement, the question many are now asking is simple. What really happened to Andre Rieu? This is the story few have heard. The music behind the silence, the pain behind the curtain. Because even a man who brings joy to millions can suffer in complete isolation. And Rieu, beloved by millions, was no exception. Long before Andre Rieu became a global icon, before he sold out stadiums and made classical music a household joy, he was just a boy in Maastricht, one with a violin and a dream far too big for the concert halls he grew up in. Born into a musical family in 1949, Andre's father was a strict symphony conductor who ruled the stage and home with equal discipline. Music wasn't just an art in the Rieu household. It was a religion. And, yet while his father immersed himself in rigid tradition, Andre longed for connection, warmth, and joy. His early years at the Conservatorium in Liège and later in Brussels were marked not by rebellion, but by an aching desire to make classical music feel something again, to remove the stiffness and bring back the romance. And so, in the 1980s, while the world obsessed over pop stars and stadium rock, Andre Rieu did the unthinkable. He formed his own orchestra, the Johann Strauss Orchestra, and began staging classical concerts that felt more like theatrical events than recitals. At first, critics scoffed. What was this spectacle, this smiling man with flowing hair and swirling gowns? It was too light, too happy, too popular. But that was the revolution. Andre wasn't just playing waltzes, he was staging emotional experiences, combining visual grandeur with sweeping music that reached the hearts of everyday people. While the classical elite mocked him, the public embraced him. And slowly, year by year, his concerts began to sell out, first in the Netherlands, then across Europe, and eventually around the world. Andre Rieu made classical music profitable, marketable and personal again. But with each new triumph came an enormous risk, financial, emotional, and artistic. Rieu was not backed by massive record labels or institutions. He funded his tours himself, often gambling everything on elaborate productions with real horses, hand-built castle sets, and costumes that cost millions. One wrong step, one bad tour, and it could all collapse. And yet he pressed on, driven by a need to share joy, but also perhaps by an urgency to prove something deeper to the father who never truly approved of his style. Behind the stage curtain, Andre Rieu was not the carefree maestro people imagined. He was meticulous, anxious, and often overwhelmed. The success was immense, but so was the pressure to maintain it. He built a global empire, yes, but it was one resting entirely on his shoulders, and the cracks in that weight were beginning to show. For years, Andre Rieu's concerts were a whirlwind of joy. Ballroom dancers floating beneath chandeliers, full orchestras draped in opulence, and audiences rising to their feet in every corner of the world. But beneath the velvet curtains and golden violins, a storm was brewing, one that would bring everything crashing down in silence. In 2010, while preparing for a grueling worldwide tour, André began experiencing unexplained dizziness, nausea, and overwhelming fatigue. What initially seemed like stress or exhaustion quickly escalated into something far more serious. Doctors diagnosed him with a severe viral infection of the vestibular nerve, a condition that affected his balance and coordination, making it nearly impossible to stand, let alone perform. For a man whose livelihood depended on his ability to conduct, play, and move with energy, it was a devastating blow. With no warning, dozens of shows were abruptly canceled, fans were heartbroken, and André, who had always appeared invincible, vanished from the spotlight. He wasn't just fighting illness. He was staring down the collapse of an empire he had built with his own hands. The financial fallout was immediate. André had already invested millions into that year's production. Sets had been constructed, travel booked, teams hired. Unlike most artists, he was both performer and financier. His business model relied on consistency, and without shows, the income stream stopped. Insiders reported that he nearly went bankrupt during this period, kept afloat only by personal savings and emergency loans. But the worst part wasn't the money, it was the fear. André later confessed that during this time he believed his career might be over. Lying in bed, too dizzy to sit upright, he questioned whether he'd ever return to the stage, whether he'd ever feel normal again. And for someone whose entire identity was wrapped around bringing others joy, the isolation was crushing. While fans speculated and tabloids ran vague headlines about health issues, few truly understood the depth of the crisis. André Rieu, the man who had filled stadiums and smiled through standing ovations, was now alone in the quiet, trying to heal, trying not to fade. If you believe stories like this, real, raw, and untold, deserve to be shared, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps keep these powerful narratives alive. Eventually, after months of treatment and near-total isolation, André made a slow and painful return to the stage. But he was never quite the same. The man who once seemed untouchable now moved with more caution, smiled with a shade more restraint. The experience had changed him, not just physically, but emotionally, and it marked the beginning of a more fragile, more human chapter in his life, one that fans could feel even if they didn't know the full story. Until now. Outside the lights, cameras, and roaring applause, André Rieu's life has been far from the fantasy his audiences imagine. While he projects charisma and exuberance on stage, behind the curtain he battles solitude, immense pressure, and personal struggle. André's devotion to music has always come at a cost. Decades of rigorous rehearsals, grueling tours, and a relentless schedule that left little room for family or personal pursuits. Those closest to him reveal a man who is meticulous to the point of obsession, ensuring that every note, every gesture, every costume is perfect, even if it means sacrificing his own well-being. His dedication has earned him worldwide acclaim, but it has also made him isolated, guarded, and sometimes lonely. Friends describe him as warm yet private, generous yet reserved, a man whose laughter on stage often masks the weight he carries off it. Beyond the physical toll of illness and exhaustive touring, André has faced emotional challenges as well. Rumors of strained relationships, moments of self-doubt, and the quiet burden of carrying an orchestra's reputation on his shoulders have shaped his reality. He has witnessed colleagues fall, productions fail, and critics question his unconventional approach to classical music, all while maintaining a smile for fans. Yet the solitude has also allowed him introspection, granting him resilience and a unique perspective on life and art. In interviews, André speaks of music as more than performance. It is therapy, salvation, and connection, a way to communicate what words cannot. This philosophy is why he has continued despite setbacks, why he has returned to stages that once seemed impossible to conquer. Fans see only the spectacle, the flowing hair, the waltzing couples, the euphoric energy, but very few see the man who meticulously plans each tour, who worries endlessly about every arrangement, who questions whether he is giving enough. That quiet anxiety and constant pursuit of excellence have shaped both the triumph and the tragedy of his career. His story is a paradox, adored by millions for bringing joy, yet carrying a private burden that few could bear. André Rieu has lived through illness, near bankruptcy, and the ever-present fear that his magic might one day fade, and yet he persists, not for fame, not for money, but for the music itself. It is this devotion, this unwavering commitment to beauty and joy despite personal cost, that defines him. The man behind the curtain is complex, layered, and deeply human, a reminder that even icons of grandeur wrestle with fragility and doubt. André Rieu is more than the spectacle. He is a survivor, a visionary, and a man whose passion for music has both lifted millions and quietly tested the limits of his own endurance. After decades of triumphs and setbacks, André Rieu has become more than a musician. He is a cultural phenomenon, a man whose life reflects both the highs of extraordinary achievement and the depths of personal struggle. From sold-out stadiums in Europe to intimate concerts around the globe, he has redefined classical music, making it accessible, joyful, and emotionally resonant for millions who may never have attended an opera or symphony before. Yet, behind every glittering performance lies a story of sacrifice. Rieu has poured his heart, soul, and financial resources into productions that demand perfection, often pushing himself beyond the limits of health and endurance. Friends and colleagues note his tireless work ethic, his meticulous planning, and the deep personal investment he places into every note, every costume, and every stage. The global acclaim he enjoys today is tempered by the private battles few have witnessed. Illness that threatened to end his career, financial risks that could have sunk his dreams, and moments of deep isolation where the weight of expectation pressed down relentlessly. Despite all this, André Rieu continues to perform, not for fame or fortune, but for the music itself, for the connection between performer and audience, and for the joy he can give to people through waltz, violin, and orchestral grandeur. His legacy is more than a career. It is a testament to resilience, vision, and the power of passion to endure even under immense pressure. For fans, he is the man who brings magic to concert halls, a conductor who makes you feel every note. For those who know his story, he is also a reminder that behind every public triumph is a private struggle, a life defined not just by applause, but by the courage to continue in the face of adversity. André Rieu has faced moments that might have ended lesser careers, yet he has chosen perseverance, creativity, and generosity. His concerts are a celebration not just of music, but of human endurance, reminding the world that joy and hardship often walk hand in hand. As the curtains fall and the audience rises to their feet, applauding and cheering, André's story reminds us that greatness is never without sacrifice, and that the man who moves millions to tears with a waltz has also endured heartbreaks, fears and trials invisible to the world. Today, the Waltz King stands not only as a maestro of melody, but as a survivor, his music a bridge between pain and beauty, his life a testament to the enduring power of passion and resilience.